Welcome back everybody to another episode of the GC Informer. I am Snowy, otherwise known as Count Fracula, instead of the traditional news format at the moment because fuck all is going on. I am going to do a retrospective of the year just gone and the basic steps of what's happened, and yeah, just a nice little retrospective of the year for you. I'm not going to go in chronological order because I'll be here all day, but I'll start with Nintendo because they came back this year. They'd sort of fallen off basically everyone's critical and commercial radar with the Wii U because that flopped like a motherfucker. It sold less units in its lifetime than the Dreamcast, and the Dreamcast basically killed Sega as a console making company. So you'd think that might have killed Nintendo off, but no. They announced in the previous year that they were working on a console, codenamed the NX at the time, and they really pulled it out the bag with the Switch. On launch there were a few sort of technical issues, of course. I think that's basically standard with every console at the moment, since the 360 actually. But that's by the by, because in the end the Switch turned out to be a brilliant console. I have one myself. I play it most days actually, playing through Mario Odyssey. A lot of fun, and it's really brought Nintendo back into the eyes of the gamers and even the mainstream really, because they sold a ton of units. In fact, they sold, well, the last milestone they crossed that I remember was 9 million. But over the Christmas period that may well have jumped to 10. Also, if I'm talking slightly odd, just going to point out, I bit my tongue so hard yesterday I cut it open and the bit is very numb, so might not be talking quite normal. Might have a bit of a lisp or something at the moment. I don't know. I've not really... bit weird. Anyway, moving on. In other sort of Nintendo news though, they did fuck up a little bit because they launched the SNES Mini and they fucked the stock up again because it's Nintendo, because they're trying to, I don't know if they're trying to, but they're certainly making artificial scarcity. But they did a bit of a better job than they did with the NES Mini. It's still a bit of a bitch to get hold of one. My partner managed to get hold of one for me for Christmas somehow. But yeah, they are still a pain to get hold of at full price. So not great there from Nintendo, but otherwise they've had a pretty damn good year in my books. I'm going to do a sort of positive, negative thing. I think that sounds like a good idea. And I will go for the next retrospective with Steam. We all know that Steam is maybe not the most refined storefront in the world. Let's put it like that. It's kind of a quagmire of crap, basically, to put it mildly. And this actually got to the point where Valve thought they'd try and tackle it in a way that didn't involve algorithms, which for Valve to actually even attempt that is saying something about the state of Steam. What they did was try to tackle it by introducing a new way to get games onto Steam that wasn't Steam Greenlight, and in fact scrapping Greenlight altogether. The method was basically, here, pay us some money and you can put this game on Steam. Now, this could have worked quite well if the barrier to entry was quite high but not too high. Instead though, it's a $100 flat fee. A very small amount really when you think about it, and something that's incredibly easy to get back through things like bot farming and all these trading card farms, etc. All of those things, very easy ways to get your entry fee back, and even just a few sort of sales to people who just don't give a fuck and want to own lots of games, because those people do exist. And it's not worked. It has not worked in the slightest. Steam Direct is a failure, an abject failure. Still full of shit, loads of shit pumping out the doors, and at the moment there seems to be a very common thing among the Steam new release list of games that are not available for purchase, even though they're on the new releases page, because they missed their dates. So, you know, please do something about this, Valve. Your reputation, think of it. It used to be so high and now it's in the toilet. On the other hand though, this year has been a fabulous year for the indie titles. There's been some fabulous games that have come out of the indie scene this year. I'll just name a couple. Cuphead Heat Signature by Tom Francis, a game I particularly love, and Pyre by Supergiant Games. There's just been so many beautiful indie titles to come out this year, and there's never really been a better time to get into sort of the indie scene of gaming, because it's now more accessible than ever. A lot of these games are now available on console, especially PlayStation, but some of them are available on Xbox and even the Switch now as well. Like Stardew Valley on the Switch is incredibly tempting. I've not bought it myself yet, but I may well do in the future. There's some gorgeous indie games all over the place. A lot of people are going to the Switch for indie games, in fact, because it's a better way to get discovered than to go on Steam, because on Steam you're going to get drowned out. Special mention though to games like Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, an example of what people have dubbed AA, which is a dumb term, but basically it means a game made by a company independently but has the standards of a AAA game, showing you what you can actually do when you are just a bit more careful with your budget. It is a gorgeous, fantastic game, and just proves so many of the arguments and defences of the AAA industry wrong, and I love it for that all the more. We must, however, mention though, speaking of stores, PlayStation's store has gone a little bit to shit this year. Not quite the same level as Steam, but it's certainly getting there. There have been a deluge of titles released on the PlayStation Store, and even some had trailers on the official PlayStation YouTube channel, such as Life of Black Tiger. And a lot of these games are ports of free Android games that have been placed onto this store and are being sold for ridiculous amounts of money for what they are. Like Life of Black Tiger is, I think, £10. There's also a horse racing one, which is utter crap and is £13. It is madness, and I really don't know what's happened. PlayStation certainly haven't commented, or Sony haven't commented on it at all. There's no word as to why this has happened this year, but it's a shame to see, because any sort of digital storefront, you want there to be some kind of standards and gatekeeping involved. Cough, Valve, cough! But yeah, it seems that Sony have let those gates slip open a little bit too much this year, but hopefully that'll get addressed next year. We'll see. Another positive thing now, I want to talk about one specific game, because it is the revival of a franchise, really. We all know that Sonic as a franchise is, well, very mixed in quality, to say the least. And this year we had two Sonic games. One of them was very forgettable. The other one, though, absolutely fantastic little thing. Sonic Mania, made by a fan of the series. This is a modder who was basically hired in to make a Sonic game. And it's great. It's really, really good. It's proper classic Sonic. Just updated slightly, better animations, slightly more freedom of movement, lots of gorgeous things about this game. And it very much revived the Sonic franchise to me. It made it like good in the eyes of the public again, because the last few games, apart from maybe one or two, just haven't been received well. Even since sort of 2006, the last 10 years of Sonic games, you've only had one or two that are even remotely good and okay to play. But to see a game like this just gives me hope for the Sonic franchise in the future. But then Sonic Forces came out and made me think, oh, maybe not. But we'll see. This year has also been the year of the Battle Royale game. We have had PUBG, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, just completely storm the Steam numbers in general. Most played game concurrently, and one of the most owned games of all time on Steam. It is madness, frankly. Just this game that came out of nowhere and is genuinely now one of the most played games on Steam, even though it's only been out for about 9-10 months and it's only just come out of early access. There are issues with it, of course. It's horribly optimized on a lot of systems on PC. It's also even worse in terms of optimization on the Xbox One, where it has a currently timed exclusive release. I think that's correct. Anyway, it might be coming to PS4 later. But, that's all that aside, and the slightly shady business involved in on the publisher end. this is a game that has very literally taken Steam by storm this year, and it spawned a very, very popular imitator as well. Fortnite Battle Royale, a game that was originally sort of released as not a battle royale, it was released as a sort of survival craft thing, but tower defense, a very strange combination of things that were quite fun. But then they adapted all of this stuff that they had and made it into a really fun little battle royale game, because, you know, it's always a good idea to go with the trends, funnily enough. Of course, it spawned some controversy when PUBG claimed that they were ripping them off. And this all spawned quite a lot of very iffy legal back and forth statements that didn't go anywhere, and I'm kind of glad that they didn't, but it was very interesting to see, at least. And, you know, Fortnite Battle Royale, I think the Battle Royale specifically bit, that bit on its own is free standalone, and you can just get that, and then if you want the full experience with the whole crafting and survival stuff, then you pay a little bit extra to get into that, because it's a alpha at the moment. It's not ready to be released on Steam or anything like that, but very interested to see where that goes. Very interested to see if the Battle Royale craze continues into next year. And finally, this wouldn't be a roundup of this year without talking about loot boxes in some way, shape or form. They have, for better or worse, plagued the industry this year, definitely for worse. just you know, it's terrible. The AAA industry have very much doubled down on their efforts to get loot boxes into as many games as they can. This was of course popularized by games like Overwatch and other such games, who put loot boxes into their things with maybe decent intentions to start with in those instances, but it's been increasingly made worse. It's just got more and more insipid and horrible, and this came to a head with the release of Star Wars Battlefront 2 version 2 on the consoles and PC late this year. Oh boy. Never did I think that this would actually get politicians talking about it. It made international headlines. It was a shitstorm, and oh boy, literally none of the publishers that put these kinds of systems in their games have had a good time of it PR-wise this year. Had publishers like Activision and EA, all of these companies have released games such as Destiny 2, Battlefront 2, Shadow of War, Middle-earth, even For Honor that was released at the start of the year. That game got forgotten. It really just sort of got buried, but that had loot boxes in it as well, and it's just awful, frankly, to see this happening to the AAA industry. And it really has, they've shown their hand this year with all this. It's just showing us that they just want your money. Not the money that they need, they just want more money than they could ever possibly need, because they can, and these systems work. But hopefully this whole Battlefront 2 thing makes them think a little bit more about what they're doing, because, you know, EA kind of ruined their little gravy train there, which I am very happy about. And that brings us to the end of this GameCast Informer, summary, whatever, New Year's thing. Happy New Year, incidentally. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give us a like, subscribe, or a share, whatever you fancy. Our social links are down in the description, along with a link to our Discord. And stay tuned to GameCast. We have news, reviews, Let's Plays, lots of lovely content coming your way very soon. And I will see you soon for a podcast or news or something else. Have a nice year, and hopefully it's better than last year. Ta-ra!